Um, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Should we wait for more people to join or should we start now? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is the third day and the second week of the Ramadan in main lecture. The theme of this year being Islamic theory and practical. So my name is Zainab Shitsu. I'll be the moderator for today. I would also like to call on someone to make the opening dua for us. Who would like to volunteer, please? Sorry. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Zainab Shitu once again, and today is going to be our third day and the second week of our Ramadan in May lecture. This is a yearly it occurs yearly, so this is our second year. And then I said I would like to call someone for our opening dua. So if someone could volunteer for um there's a lot.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
My background is a bit noisy, but I think it would still do. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وعلمنا بما اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make everything we learn here today very beneficial and grant us the best of this world and the hereafter. Ameen. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much. So today our topic for our topic we have Brother Mohammed Ahmed. Today he will be tackling a very great problem that we are facing, and in a society where mental health has been like in this day and age, we are taking more emphasis on mental health. Um, we as Muslims have to tackle it in a different way from others. We can't like disregard things that we can't disregard Allah when it comes to our mental health. So Brother Muhammad today will be going into this topic, and um you could share your screen, Brother Mohammed. I think that's you. So today for Brother Mohammed is a psychologist and the CEO of Blackmore Consulting, the convener, and the Wellbeing Station. Mohammed is the Chief Executive Officer of Blackmore Consulting, a learning organization that provides tailored solutions to all categories of persons and organizations in need of psychological support and capacity building solutions for the development, management, and enhancement of human potential in personal and professional life. He has an undergraduate degree in counseling and human development studies, a master in career counseling psychology, and is currently pursuing a PhD in clinical psychology at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He has more than a decade of experience and core competence in consulting, research, and training. He has accumulated over 4,000 counseling hours in private practice from individual and group counseling interventions. So it has also accommodated over 5,000 hours of training in capacity building, promoting well-being and functioning optimally in the home and work environment. Is a full member of the Counseling Association of Nigeria, an affiliate member of the American Psychological Association, a founding member, Positive Psychology Association of Nigeria, and currently serves as Publicity Secretary of the Positive Psychology Association of Nigeria, POPAN. He was a consultant on the Hurry Child Project, an African perspective towards understanding childhood development in Africa. Also, he's the Director of Youth Mental Health, ACIDO Foundation. Mentor Mo currently champions the Wellbeing Station, a safe and hybrid support community for discussing, addressing, and providing pragmatic solutions to the everyday struggles men go through in their life trajectory. Mohammed is happily married and blessed with a daughter. So for today, our topic is nurturing mental health as a Muslim. So in general, mashallah, may Allah bless him abundantly. Yes, that's true. So today, I think as young adults, a lot of us really have deep interest in mental health. So make sure you have your questions ready in case he doesn't tackle it. And I just have a small quiz for us just before we start. Um, I'm sure some of you have heard of this a certain surah in the Quran that the prophet that was revealed to the prophet in time when he was going through like a great sadness, where um the he had not like a lot of he had not gotten any revelation in a while, so he was very sad about that. And this surah, we are told to read it in time of like sadness, tribulations. So is there anyone who wants to like answer what this surah is? You could also give your answer in the chat box, and we can maybe come back to it towards the end of the lecture. So, Brother Mohammed, the floor is yours now. You could share your screen if you want to, or you could, anyhow you feel comfortable with.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Am I audible enough, please?
I feel like it could be a bit louder, but I
Okay.
could hear you. Yes.
You'll be amazed at my voice at the end of the day. Please, can you enable me sharing my screen, please? For a while, we wait for that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna alhamdulillah nahmadu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So I think I should just proceed into my slides if we cannot enable host sharing yet to save time. So once again, I want to thank Self and World Foundation for the opportunity given to me to be here today to contribute my quota to the Ummah. Can we please mute?
Please, those who have their mics on, please switch it off. And also, I think you can share your screen now. I'm not sure if I was able to do that.
Yes, I can. I can now.
Okay. All those who have their mics on, please switch it off so we can hear Brother Muhammad. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair for the moderation. So, Alhamdulillah, once again, gratitude to Almighty Allah for granting us the sustenance and the opportunity to see today as planned. Alhamdulillah that we are Muslims. Alhamdulillah that we have been given the insight to come up with such a very topical topic to discuss prior to Ramadan. And inshallah, in my little best, I would try to speak to the topic and hoping that this could be the jihad for us and for those that would come after us. So nurturing mental health as Muslims. This is a very broad topic. I've tried to make it very simple because there's so much to talk about, but I'll be more interested in questions because I prefer answering practical life scenarios as to just talking theoretical. So inshallah, I'll be talking about how we can nurture our well-being, our emotional health, how we can adjust and cope with the challenges in the present day as Muslims. And while we still function and flourish as Muslims on earth, that it doesn't deter us reaching the ultimate goal, which is Jannatul Firdaus, Jannah rather. So the next slide. So as a preamble, I always do this, and it's always to put us in perspective. Because if you cannot measure, if you do not know where you are in life, if you do not know what phase of life you're in, then you might not even know what is expected of you at that phase of your life. So this is a career development model that has been very, very healthy, and it's something that gives us an overview of what we are. So depending on your age, depending on the level at which you've grown in your career, I'll be discussing this model in like 35 minutes and sharing insight as to how this affects our well-being. So essentially, between the ages of 5 and 18 years, 15 to 18 years, is the growth phase of our life, the stage of full dependence. Okay, meaning we are dependent on our parents or on the system for what we eat, what we clothe, our basic physiological needs, our sense of security, our sense of connectedness, our sense of belongingness, and that speaks to the fact that if a child is growing in an environment that is full of adverse experiences, it's going to actually influence.
Oh, God.
So it's going to actually influence how the child turns out to be.
I've been wearing it. But it's not smelling nobody.
Sister Radia, please could you mute? Please? Thank you. So that's the growth phase of our life. I want to believe most of people on this call are beyond that phase, but I'm giving reference to this because most of us are bearing children now, and we need to pay attention to this. What the child experiences in his or her nature-nurture interaction influences what the child turns out to be. A lot of developmental trauma. Please, can Sister Radia Karim mute her mic, please? Thank you. So a lot of issues that play out later in life that have been repressed over our formative years are actually.
You said the next class is at what time? Let me just write it down so I don't. Also, we don't have class today, Ni.
Sister Radia.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, as I was saying, this phase is fundamental to every other thing that happens to us because the kind of decisions we make, the kind of help-seeking behaviors we take on, the kind of coping strategies we take on actually influences how we turn out.
Rashitu, please switch your mic off.
Ramadan.
Okay, thank you. So beyond this phase is a transition phase to young adulthood, which is the exploratory phase of our life, about 18 to 25. That's how I put it, because in the present day, at that time, you're leaving secondary school to the university. You're moving to a stage of independence from the stage of full dependence. You're trying to explore yourself, understand your areas of aptitude, interest, potentials, looking at what can actually be meaningful to you. So there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of experimentation at this phase of our life. Very critical phase, because this is the phase where you start building meaningful social relationships too. So if you are the child that does not have the opportunity to mingle all along while in your formative years, you might have challenges building, because the social capitals might have been so low that trying to build friendships might be difficult. And it's more difficult in the present day because as technology increases, we have challenges of building meaningful social connections. We are glued to our devices. So in as much as you are a busy parent and all, make sure from the early stage, as much as possible, there's associative play, there is solitary play, there's interactive play, These are things you should expose your children to. Don't do me and my family thing. Don't do just locking your child up in your estate, in your door. Don't isolate these children. What matters to them in the first phase of their lives, the first 5 years most especially, is the quality of the positive experiences they have, and it's a function of the play they have. So play is not just sitting with the video game, it's not just sitting with the phone. Play at that stage involves physical activity. So that being said, because as of now, a child as early as 6, 7, 8, 9 is suffering schizophrenia. You should be scared of that. If children at that early age suffer very, very serious mental health conditions as that. So the exploratory phase is also a function of how the society is. If you're in an environment where we have so much bad influence and all, and you do not have that strong foundation, it might influence you. Because while making experimentations, you would certainly make mistakes moving into adulthood. But the type of mistakes you would make will determine. So if you're close to the Muslim community, if you have Muslim friends around you, if you belong to a Muslim community like like we have now at Self World Foundation, if your engagements are in line with some basic Islamic principles, there's a limit to how you would deviate from the beat, because at every point in time, something would control that behavior, that excess behavior, or that deficit behavior that might predispose you to several mental health issues. So beyond this exploratory phase is what? The establishment phase. So essentially between the ages of 25 and 44, you are expected to start settling down in life, start having children, start establishing your career path. Establishment means now that to a certain extent, you are sure of what is making sense to you. It means that to a certain extent, beyond just the money, you have interest in that career path. So the challenges we have these days is that oftentimes for married couples, the man is growing in his career path, the woman is just child rearing. And unfortunately, the woman is probably very young. She probably started birthing the child very early. So she's just stagnant. She's not growing in her career. And then it can affect her mental health state. So men must take consciousness of that fact that when you're marrying, you're setting couples goals, you're setting developmental goals, you must make sure that your spouse's development is key. In as much as you understand that a man's self-sufficiency is a function of his achievements in life. For women, their self-esteem is a function of their social connections. So you now notice, when you start having issues in the house, you don't know where it's coming from. You want to check yourself. Does the wife feel stuck? Is your wife complaining over and over about just being bored? These are questions you want to ask, because once there is no meaningful engagement, it leads to mental health conditions. So it's not just about saying, I provide the money, I give you this, I give you that in the house. It's beyond that. It's you investing in emotional capital in your wife. It's you trying to make her grow. It's you trying to look at how she also can have meaningful engagement, whether within or outside the home. And still goes to women too. Sometimes the husband is struggling in his career path. It's very critical that at that stage you must be consistently supportive, because that is what boosts the sense of self-esteem. And if a man's self-esteem is down, every other thing is down. And if the man in himself does not have good coping strategies, you start seeing him adopting some very unhealthy practices. So he might start from impulsive behaviors, like probably just reacting, showing aggression in the home, trying to avoid even staying in the home, looking for ways to just, exhale. And that's why the praise in the society will just hook them up. So the establishment phase is very critical, because it's still the phase where you start having middle life crisis. It's the stage where sexual satisfaction is critical. A woman is getting to a maturity. A woman's reproductive domain is getting to full maturity when you tend towards 36 above. And it is that point in time where the man is struggling with his life. He's struggling to cope. He's struggling to make sure he provides for the family. So there's a lot of tension and pressure. So effective communication goes a long way at that phase of our life. Moving on forward, 45 to 64, at that stage in life, there's a concept in psychosocial development theory called generativity versus stagnation. It means that at the maintenance phase of your life, you are not thinking just about yourself again now. You're thinking about how you want to add value to your children, to the community, to the future generation. If at this stage of your life, you are 45 and you're still thinking just about yourself. If you're still selfish about your aspirations, there's a problem. It means there's a stagnation somewhere. It means probably in your career path you're not satisfied, or there's a challenge somewhere around some of the core life goals you're pursuing. So the maintenance phase of a career, you're not thinking, you're not doing trial and error again. You are sure of your career path. You're a specialist. You're a consultant in that path, whether you're employed or self-employed. In that area of your life, you already have a portfolio. Because if you do not have all these things in place, what is happening next is decline. And that is where you would now know whether it will now be you experiencing integrity or despair. And when desperation sets in, there's a problem. So having said all this, what phase are you in life? And how are you coping with that phase in life? And that's why mental health issues are subjective. So let's move on forward, because I know I have limited time. General definitions, people have been talking about mental health. What is it all about? Okay. Mental health is just like physical health. Okay. It's just that it is intangible. It's not something we can see. Okay. It's about your feelings, your thoughts, and how it influences your actions and behaviors towards yourself and towards the system. If you have the capacity to be at optimal functioning here does not mean that you're not facing challenges. Does not even mean that you're not even suffering depression, or you are not exposed to trauma, or that you're not even having some challenges. Optimal well-being here means that regardless of what happens to you, you have the capacity to regulate and bounce back. That means emotionally you're stable. It means your adaptability quotient is high. You have healthy, social, and meaningful connections. You can manage pressure, cope with stress, and most importantly, have a positive self-perception of yourself. So what do you think of yourself? Do you like yourself? What do you see? What are the positive things you see about yourself? I'm not talking about ego-bloated and narcissistic perceptions of who you are. I'm talking about the real vulnerable self. And I'm talking about men here, most importantly. Because a lot of men are either just denying reality, or they don't want to face what is on ground. So we will talk about the nature-nurture factor, because what the topic is speaking to nurturing relationships. Beyond the fact that there's a component of nature, your genetics, your physiological makeup, beyond the fact that can predispose you to mental health conditions, if it's probably something in your family before or in the environment, there's also the nurture factor. And the nurture factor is most potent, because nurture determines how you would adapt and how you'd respond to the challenges you face as you grow in life. Then I've talked about career development issues, so I'm going to move past that. Depression, anxiety, and stress. Stress is a norm in life. If you are not experiencing stress, it's a problem. If you are experiencing too much stress, it's also a problem. If you're not experiencing stress, you suffer lethargy. You start suffering boredom. It can lead to a lot of mental health issues. If you are also now experiencing consistent chronic stress, it becomes pathological. It becomes a problem for you. So at what point do you find that balance and that moderation? Anxiety, in the simplest way, is just talking about worry. And that is because you are worried about a future you cannot control. A lot of us are always in the panic button mode. Our level of hypervigilance is so high. And the reason is because we've not built meaningful relationships around us. We have trust issues with everything around us. So what we just continue to think about is you're suspecting somebody around you, whether at home or at work. The moment you are always suspecting everybody around you, the moment you're always looking for what is not there, in fact, Islam detests suspicion. So the moment you start doing all these things, anxiety will set in, and it is gradual. You won't know. That's the problem with mental health conditions. They creep in steadily. And it is still the same you that won't come in for therapy because you believe you know yourself. I know myself. This. You keep bragging. Some of you would even say, what do I want to go and do in therapy? Do I have a problem? And that's a misconception. You don't need to have a problem before you go into therapy. So moving on forward, depression. That's the very commonest one. And I will start with the maternal depression, whether postpartum or peripartum. A lot of men don't understand this. Your wife has a tendency to be predisposed to depressive episodes or states if she has had it before in life. So, however, if she hasn't had it before in life and it sets in during pregnancy, you must be emotionally available for her to cope through that period. And that's what happens to most of us as men. We ignore our wives because they put on some unhealthy, some probably unhealthy behaviors, or they throw tantrums and all. That's the time you have to show compassion to your wife. Because if you're not careful, that peripartum or postpartum, that depression would be with her for life. And it can even affect the quality of the emotional state of the children you bring to life. Because you can imagine, when a woman is not happy and she's taking care of an offspring or a child, do you think she would show happy emotions to the child? Of course not. So we are creating problems for our children without knowing. So men should wake up. But then the challenge again is this. Most of the men we have today are boys. And it is still totally not their fault. It is poor parenting practices coming from the 70s, the 60s, due to the disintegration of the home and the responsibilities or the economic functions that the system is designing us to tend towards. Men have been neglected growing up. A lot of men just grew up by default. They don't understand anything around their emotions or what they have. And that is a problem. So tell me, the man that does not even understand himself, how do you think he will connect with you? So women, also show compassion to your men. Try to be understanding with them. Trauma and addiction, I've talked about this. But I would stress more on PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Is a very big issue. Because a lot of us in Nigeria today are being re-traumatized. When you see an event, whether directly or indirectly, whether on social media or you see it happen to you, or you are in an environment where the thing that caused the pain is still showing up. So, as an example, your husband committed, what is it called? Domestic violence against you. It's traumatic. And both of you have not come to a resolve, whether professionally or personally or religiously. The more you continue to see him exhibit behaviors that relate to what has happened before, the more you become traumatized. And same goes for the woman too. If you've done something to hurt your husband and he has not exhaled, he has not let it out, the re-traumatization would continue. You will now dump it on the children again. The children will now suffer generational or developmental trauma. You will now be abusing them. You are not doing well with this, you are not doing well with this. You are not even concerned about the emotions of those children. Addiction, phone addiction, gambling, pornography, substance abuse, alcoholism. There is no good thing that comes out of addiction. There is no good thing that comes out of it. Because Islam, the Prophet even said, moderation in everything. But then, why do people get addicted? Do you know that even depression is a coping mechanism? It's just the body responding to the fact that I am in an helpless state, so I have to move into the survival mode. That's what is happening. And we have those that are bipolar too, that have cycles of depression and anxiety modes. But let's just leave that. There's not much time for today. So addiction is a major problem today. Even excessive football watching, addiction to football, because these are all coping mechanisms. You see, anything you do that gives you instant gratification, that gives you that releases dopamine into your system, that makes you feel that rush of energy and satisfaction to just get away from a problem or a pressure point or a stress point. And you continue to engage in. Why do you think side chicks are helping men in their homes today? Why do you think so? That's another, we'll come to that later. So, the early child syndrome, and this is to you mothers and fathers, because a lot of you project on your children, a lot of you displace on your children. The moment you hurry a child to grow up, you have totally prematurely restructured that child. That child already has a problem in life. You are rushing the child to grow up. You are putting the child in the wrong class because you are just judging the child by his or her cognitive capacity. You're not looking at the social component of the child. You're not looking at the emotional component of the child. Hey, my child passed this, move into next class. Even some of you pay for the child to quickly leave primary 5. Some of you pay for the child to rush into university. Who are you competing with? Where is the child rushing to? A fetus that is not up to 9 months old is a premature fetus. Even if it spends 7 months and it comes out, they still incubate it. Why didn't they rush that fetus? Why are you rushing these children? Where are you rushing them to? A child in 5 years old is already in primary 3. Why? So these children are not exposed to age inappropriate experiences and activities. And the sad thing is, again, is that you are not even there to help them. You are not there to help them. And that is why they fall prey. And when they make mistakes again, you label them and you judge them. Shame on you. I'm hungry because I'm on the field. And I have loads of cases. As I speak with you, I'm in a conference in Abuja, and I know how many therapy sessions I've taken. So it's seriously, it's a serious concern. So, positive psychological capital. Every principle of Islam is hinged on what we are just following on today. If indeed we reflect on all the things Islam has always advocated, we would understand that it has always been from the position of positive psychological principles. Now, what are positive psychological capital? Self-efficacy, resilience, hope, optimism. These are things that Hadith and the Quran has always told us to be optimistic about life, to always persevere, to be able to bounce back from adversity, to develop our capabilities. A lot of us are so lazy that we do not even understand that we need to grow, we need to upskill. And very importantly, the strengths in psychological practices too. Yes, times are changing. It is in those days we focus more on the traditional model of counseling, where we are problem focused. These days we believe that if we focus more on your strength areas, then we can actually make the best out of your challenges in life. Let's move on swiftly. Please tell me how many more minutes I have, please, so that I can manage myself. So next slide is talking about issues relating to religion, therapy, and coping. So still in nurturing our mental health, we want to look at background issues, things that are actually either predisposing, maintaining, or influencing how we actually, get solutions to mental health issues. The first is culturally appropriate treatment. Very few practitioners today are skilled in understanding how to adapt treatment packages. So sometimes you just go to a therapist, and all they do is just prescribe drugs for you. It doesn't work. In fact, most of the times, the issues are more psychosocial than pharmacological or biomedical. Because sometimes when you now place them on medication, it compounds the problem. Either they suffer drug dependence, or it affects them because it doesn't solve the root problem. So I'm saying this because these are issues we've been facing, and that's why we are trying to collaborate. Psychiatry is also improving their counseling practices, because most times those in psychiatry just focus mostly on medical. But then they are also coming to realize that now we've seen the mainstreaming of those agendas, that yes, beyond just looking at it from the medical viewpoint, why not look at it from the counseling psychosocial viewpoint? Because most of the issues we have today are predisposed, are settled in our social environment. And so these days you have very same social workers, same mental health professionals, and the likes. We have limited number of Muslim professionals. That's a major problem. We know generally that even in the space, whether you are Muslim or not, professionals in the mental health space are limited. But then again, in the Muslim world, we have very few that understand how to adapt Islamic psychology school principles and use them in therapy sessions. So then also, sometimes we have sometimes we have challenges trying to match a client to a therapist. Very few of us can take therapy across all ages. Very few. So we need to start encouraging ourselves and our children to take courses in psychology, to take courses in that area of human behavior. Another major issue is the coping pattern of Muslims or people with Muslim backgrounds. You see, sometimes our problems are more psychological than spiritual. But we keep using religious coping, spiritual coping, and religious coping, not even spirituality, religious coping patterns. And that's why sometimes you find psychotic tendencies in even some so-called people that are high in religious practices, because they are not actually focusing on where the problem is coming from. And that's why sometimes you need to seek a professional. And a lot of men too have used it to chance their wives, rather. When you say, I have this problem, you just say, go and pray. It's because you've not been praying well. It's because you've not been doing this. Sometimes it's beyond that. Okay, so I've talked about this next point. Then help-seeking behaviors. I've talked about that a bit. I want to save time. The changes in the family structure. Imagine you that you plan to leave the country now. Is it the one that is living first, or the husband that is living first? Who stays with the children? Who goes with the children? These are issues. How do you manage polygyny? In fact, the people that are strongly against polygyny in the current day are even more of Muslims than even Christians. The Muslims that should be promoting polygyny, the Muslim females and even some males, are the ones even see. These problems will continue to increase. Wallahi lazim, if we do not follow what Allah said. Most of the functional Muslim males you see in the population are either in prison or are economically disadvantaged. And it is still the same women that will say, I want somebody that is well to do, that is this, that is that. And the few ones that are well to do, you are saying you don't want them to marry. You are saying you don't want them to take more wives. And sadly, the ones that are the men in the community that their heads are not even correct, let me use that word, are the ones now wanting to marry more wives because they don't have the right motive to marrying those wives. The one that is even at home, you've not the rights over you, or your rights over you've not fulfilled it. So these are issues. We now have baby mamas. Even in the Islamic fold, we now have lesbianism, gay, even in Islamic fold. We now have separate parenting, all sorts of things. In fact, very importantly, we even have Muslims that do not even allow their children to build good relationship with their grandparents. That's a big problem. We have Muslims that will not allow their children to associate with their Muslim neighbors, that will not even allow their children to understand the Muslim community around them. What are we now building? Why do we call ourselves the Ummah? So then economic challenges, we all know that, so I won't belabor that.
the challenges of wanting to struggle. And I keep saying this, don't start life with what you can't maintain. If you are putting your child in a school that is too expensive, review it. Don't overpressure yourself. And the husband is working, the wife is working, they are competing instead of collaborating. I'm not saying both of you shouldn't grow, but it must not be at the expense of your children, because there's nothing that can replace the first 5-7 years of your child. If you are not there for them, trust me, nothing would replace it. No amount of millions of naira you want to make will. So you can even lose that connection for life. So go and check yourself now. Because most of you, the excuse you keep making is because of the children. It's because of the children. It's because of the children. And you keep spoiling our community. You keep breaking, you keep creating problems. We keep having half-baked children. Then, how many Muslim hotels do we have in the country? How many Muslim social playgrounds do you have? How many Muslim tech hubs do we have? How many Muslim charity foundations are accessible? We have that challenge. Our Muslim youths cannot even find a safe space that is allowed to interact. So what do you expect? So let us spend our money. Let us spend it in the right cause. So let's move on fast because time is gone. So what does Islam say? Spirituality, the connection with your Allah, beyond just going to mosque, beyond all the ibadahs and everything. How well connected are you to God? Some of us will do 1,500 istighfar, and it will still have the effect of the one istighfar the Sahabas made, because their heart is pure. I'm also included, though, so when I'm talking, don't think I'm exonerating myself. Religiosity. A lot of us do not even pray regularly. A lot of us do not read our Quran daily. Those are religious practices. Imagine, look at how many people are on the call now. We are less than 20. Imagine, where else should you be receiving the reward in this life and in the hereafter, if not in an Islamic environment? Then mindfulness based. See, a lot of therapies, a lot of psychological therapies. It is for us that, those of us that are grounded, we understand that Islam has solutions. It's just that we've taken scientific measures or approaches to measure behavior. Is why we are now modernizing it. Mindfulness-based practice. When you have khushu in Salah, what are we talking about? So if indeed we can obey all those things that Islam and Prophet has laid down, we would have lesser issues. Positive living, I've talked about that. Tragic optimism, what does that mean? That you can actually find meaningfulness in a tragic event. A lot of us, when something bad just happens now, we start to wait, we start to say all sorts. In fact, some of us have left the fold of Islam because we did not get husband on time. Because we begged Allah for something and it didn't show up. Social support, I've talked about this, I'm not going to belabor it. Islam has always enshrined the group mind principle. Islam has always believed in the group mind, in the collectivistic philosophy. The more you adopt individualistic cultures, there's no such thing as me and my wife in Islam. Yes, there's a space for you to have, but there is no such thing as you just living isolated. You must have a way to live communally. There must be a connection between you and your environment. Emotional intelligence also very key. So all these things are things that when we start looking at the seerah, we start talking around stories that you see, these are things that have been expressed, that have been consistently promoted in the doctrines of Islam. When they say toxic marriage, You wonder, why would they use toxicity to qualify marriage? Do you know what toxic means? Means a poisonous thing. Why would marriage be poisonous in the first place? So the question is, are you proud being a Muslim? That's the question. Sincerely, genuinely, are you asking, are you proud being a Muslim? For many of us that are not around Muslims, that do not live, that are so probably surrounded around non-Muslims, it can be probably challenging sometimes, except you know yourself, you've been grounded. Sometimes you are at a conference, and it has happened to a few friends of mine. They will now say, after you finish presenting or you finish doing what you want to do, they'll come to you, they'll say, are you still a Muslim? Are you a Muslim? That's the first question. I said, didn't you see my name? We have Mohammeds that are now Christians. That's the way they go. And they are ready to poach you. And they want to go further to test you. But when they see that you are conscious as a Muslim, they respect your space. So what is in nurturing our mental health? What are the things that we should look at? Because Ramadan is coming, and all these things I've listed here are things we bring up on board in Ramadan. Things we are consciously doing in Ramadan. The intentionality, the niyyah. And if you like, we have to look at it from just these two dimensions: the spiritual practices and the social practices. Your prayer, your dhikri, your tilawa, your psalm, the congregational salah, the alms giving. All these things purify your heart. All these things lead to what we call inner peace. All these things increase your belief in the fact that, yes, my reward is with Allah. Look at the social practices too. A sense of community. These are things that Islam has encouraged. Acts of charity. Taking care of our environment. Yes. Supporting those that are in need. These are things we take consciousness of when Ramadan comes, because we reduce our sins, we reduce our distractions, we feed our soul with what is right. During Ramadan, there is no how the family will eat sahur or sam at the same time. So we are conscious of our own setting at that time. That is when you know that, oh, I need to change my wife's 90, because you now see that the 90 is old. That same 90 you've not seen that is old all this while. That's when you say, my husband's boxers are torn. So all these things actually increases our attentiveness to the present moment. And that is the problem. We are suffering from what we call information overload. We have too much information and too little activity. So how do we nurture our well-being? We first must embrace Islam holistically. That's the truth. Now the point is this: everyone is on a journey, is going on a journey. Okay? So I'm not talking about comparison here. What I'm saying is that you must see, and that's the point. Some of us will deny a part of Islam and accept another part of Islam. It is not good. Even if you do not accept that part of what Islam says, do not be arrogant about it. Don't say it as if nothing would happen if you don't do it. It's shaitan. So connecting with Allah through prayers and remembrance, I've talked about that. Very important. Your tahajjud, your qiyam al-layl, those are moments where you can talk to Allah in your sujood, in your ruku. Utilizing patience and trust in Allah. Yes. Patience, sabr, is very important in the present day if you want to attain optimal mental health. Very importantly is also seeking support from the Muslim community. And who are the Muslim community? We are the Muslim community. So the question is, if you as an individual do not have the right Islamic principles, somebody coming to seek support from you, what do you expect? So the change begins with us, every single person in here. And more importantly, breaking the stigma and seeking for professional. I want to beg all the men on the call today. Please go in for therapy when you need to go in for therapy. Please. Please, I beg you. Seek professional help for your children when you need to. May Allah make it easy. So in conclusion, yes, the bottom line is that everything Islam says has perfected how we should manage our mental health. Even as far as Islamic medicine, it's just that there's no time. We can't talk about those things now. So understanding Islam in itself is understanding mental health. That is my conclusion. Now, before we leave, I want you all to remember these things I'm showing you. Regulate, relate, and reason. This is a very effective communication strategy when you are in a conflict situation. Your child is crying, your child is throwing tantrums, your child is displaying behaviors you don't like or doing something you feel is unhealthy. First is you regulate your own emotions. Don't react. You regulate first. And the only way you can regulate first is to be curious. Why would my child do this? Why would my husband do this? Why would my wife do this? Why would my brother do this? Why would my sister do this? It is when you do that, that emotional aspect, that emotional part of your brain that works for emotions is declouded, and it allows higher to take place in the part of your brain that functions for insight and cognitive processing. But when you are just full of emotions and you just react, you would always make mistakes. But when you regulate that emotion first, you want to think about, even if it is just 2-3 minutes or 2-3 seconds, then you now relate. Relating means you are coming to the level of that person. Honey, I hope you didn't stress yourself today. Hope everything is fine. My daughter, are you sure you're not hungry? Why do you think you should do that? You know, you relate to them at their level, not just instructing them and commanding them and telling them what to do. That is wrong. It is when you can relate at their level that you can now reason with them. You can reason with the person. You cannot understand, you cannot make meaningful connection with the person. Sometimes it's even just about being silent. You can just, your wife can be throwing tantrums here and there. All you need to do is just hug your wife and say nothing. That hug alone can solve the problem. All you can do is probably tell your wife, honey, I appreciate you for all you've been doing, and I want to thank you for being in my life. That is reassurance. Maybe that is what she wants. Even if the hairstyle is not fine, tell her it is fine. That's what ladies want to hear. Even if they are married, they know you are lying, they still appreciate that you're telling them. Then the last one is what? Less judgment, more compassion. We keep labeling every single person we see. See, sometimes a sister that is wearing a hijab and doing everything, you later see her without a hijab and you're already judging her. Did you know her state of mental health? Do you know if she's in the survival mode? Brothers and sisters, I beg in the name of Allah, let us stop judging people every time. Stop judging yourself. And I'm starting with yourself, because when you judge yourself too much, you begin to develop self-sabotaging behaviors, which would lead to self-harm. So stop judging yourself too much. Allow yourself, exhale. Stop judging everybody around you too much. Give room for growth. Then more compassion. Please, let's show love to one another. Please. We need that more than ever now. And it is what we role model that our children will take from us. May Allah is our affairs. Jazakallah khairan for listening to me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much for that very wonderful lecture. I think a lot of us have agreed that this was a very insightful lecture, even though we didn't have enough time to go into all the topics. Inshallah, and by God's grace, maybe in future we'll be able to learn more about this very wonderful topic, as mental health is very, very crucial to our well-being. So today, Dr. Mo, he talked about quite a lot of different things. it first started about asking what phase we are in life. I think most of us on this call can agree that most of us are like in the explorative phase or in the establishment phase. The explorative phase being like the 15 to 24, when we are trying to get our life together, knowing what we want. And then the establishment phase, from what I got, he said that having effective communication um, is very key to navigating this phase. Then he talked about nurture, like how you adapt to different situations in your life. And then he also talked about spirituality and psychological problems. Like, you should know like where you are. How should I explain this? You should know where you have a problem with. Not everything, like your spirituality might be like okay, and but you have some psychological problems that you should be able to have like the mind to say, oh, I need to see a therapist. Not every time, like, oh, something is happening to me. Perhaps I'm not praying well. I mean, you should like pray. You should do all those things as a Muslim. The point being that that as a Muslim, you have to practice and you have to make sure your social life too is also on par. Like it's not just about staying at home and being like thinking you are the best Muslim or like praying all the time. You have to also go outside to see how people are, to be able to relate, to be able to reason with other people in the society. You also said to think about this question that are you proud being a Muslim? Like think about it yourself. Are you in an environment where Islam is easily accepted? If yes, are you proud to be a Muslim in such an environment? Or if like you are in a situation where it's very hard to be a Muslim, how to navigate like being proud to be able to like follow the Islamic ways in such an environment. Um, and he also said that he also warned men about not having toxic masculinity. If you know you have a problem, see a therapist. Don't spread your aggressions around. This also goes for the women. So you should also talk about women to talk about your problems. Make sure you communicate effectively with your children and with your spouses. Also, the last two things he said is that you should regulate. You should relate properly with people, and being able to relate will help you to reason like what their problem is or something like that. And then also the main thing he said, another thing he said is that you should have less judgment and more compassion towards yourself and towards others. So when you are when you see things that don't go according to like Islamic ways, don't just be quick to put someone off. Don't say things that might hurt their feelings. You never know what the person is going through. So Jazakallah khairan again, Mentor Mo. If you have any questions, you can maybe you can raise your hand and then maybe I will like, or you can ask your questions in the chats below. So yes, we can start now if you have any questions for Dr. Mo. Before the questions start coming in, I have a question of my own. This is a bit relating to more of like Islamic sense, like someone who is mentally unstable and like, okay, let's say both mentally unstable, like depression, anxiety, stress, and psychiatric illness, schizophrenia and the others. Like, do you think like are their sins, like sins committed in such states, are they being counted, or they are being seen as like sick? Like I don't know how to explain it. Do you understand?
I understand you well. I'm not
Yes.
an ustaz, but from the little that I know, um, if any individual is in a state wherein he or she is not aware of his consciousness, you know, like they use the word when someone is mad. But professionally speaking, we don't use the word mad. Okay, we use people suffering mental illnesses. So if a person is in a state where he or she is not even aware of his actions, I am aware of that caveat that whatever sins he or she commits is not recorded for him or her. Wallahu alam. I think the brother brother that would be taking the session next can also pick on that. I think he's an ustaz in that area. Thank you. So we have a hand up.
All right. Whose hand is up?
Brother, brother
Brother Amino. Yes, you can ask your question.
All right. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Sir, my question goes like this. I am my proposed wife to be as at a certain time, like we just like suddenly tend to pick offenses in one another as a result of maybe me finding fault in most of the things that she's doing. Although it is the type that I've tried to talk to her on several occasions that this the way I want you to like behave, but unfortunately to me it is not like meeting up to expectation, and suddenly I do like pick offenses. I don't know what you will have to say with regards to this. Jazakallah khair.
MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. I'm so happy a brother can come up, talk about his vulnerabilities, his inadequacies, take accountability for his actions. That's a sign of strength. I'm so happy you've come up to do that. And it also shows that you genuinely want a better future for yourself and your spouse. It also shows that you are willing to learn and grow. That's another major problem we face with our men today. They're not willing to rediscover themselves. So, brother, while I would still have appreciated we spoke privately, I'll still say one or two things here. You see, premarital, I think first I recommend you go for premarital counseling. It's what I recommend for people all the time. You see, expectation setting is just the issue here. And I tell you, in the next probably 5-6 years, you just laugh at yourself when you remember some of these things you're worried about. Fine, we have some fundamentals that you may know what to negotiate or probably compromise on. But the bottom line is this: both of you are work in progress. And it's important for you to understand that she has grown up in an entirely different environment as you have also grown up. Okay? So it takes a lot of role modeling their appropriate behavior as against instructing or telling her what to do. She's also adult. Okay? So I think we have to adopt a different strategy as to telling her I don't want this is not what you want, or this is not what you expect. You probably, if these are situations whereby you can actually display the appropriate behavior first and show her how it is done, then she can take learnings from that. See, a lot of women, in fact, most women, when you want to always hammer on them, they tend to be stubborn. So there are ways and strategies. So, brother, please just hook up with me. We'll do the coded goal thing. I'll tell you some other things you can do. But more importantly, go for premarital counseling. At that stage, both of you would be aware of what chips are on the table. You would know, because, for example, there are several variables involved here now. I don't know if you are both from the same socioeconomic background. I don't know if both of you are from the same cultural background. I don't know if both of you are at the same educational background level. It's not just about she's a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. These variables, in fact, it's about even age too. I don't know if she's an adult child. I don't know if she's still very, very young. These are factors, because these factors would influence a worldview. Okay? So don't come thinking everything will be perfect. No. In fact, that's the beauty of growing in marriage. You have to help her with compassion. You have to nurture her with love than judging her. And you know the very naughty challenge in this conversation. When you continue to focus on the problem, when you continue to label that problem, you're always lazy, you're always this. It is that problem you continue to see. And I tell you parents today, if you have a child that is probably in your sense stubborn, probably the child is just active, and you think the child is stubborn, and you keep saying the child is stubborn and stubborn, you continue to see stubbornness. But start looking at some of the positive things about the child and start reinforcing it. And you start seeing the changes. The prophet said, speak good or remain silent. So, brother, it's either you start, looking at the positives in her, using it to encourage her. Because these are things that have happened to most of us before too. So it's not as if we are perfect. No. If you focus on that which is good in her, she will feel safe. She will feel emotionally secure. She will feel as though you are confident. She will feel comfortable, even sharing her vulnerabilities with you. And in that way, she would even learn so much. She won't even make any decision without even informing you. She will be submissive. May Allah ease our affairs.
Ameen. Jazakallahu khair. Ameen. Jazakallahu khair. Sheikh, how do I get in touch with you, please?
Okay, I think the founder, the organizers will do that. I think they should do that. But if you
Okay.
Google
You said you have to leave. Is there any way people can get questions across to you? Like
okay,
to
my
get in touch with
email,
you?
okay, my handle, okay. This is let me just type here. That's a chat line. Then info@blackmo.com. That's my email. My Instagram handle, I think I'm on social media. Sorry. I've not posted in a while. Just do @mentormo. Mentormo. Yes, you should be able to find me on LinkedIn too when you type. So I think with these 3 lines, I think it's sufficient. Jazakallah khairan. I am grateful for. Okay, thanks for the lecture. Please, is having migraine at any little exposure to stress? Yes. As a result of it could. You see, sometimes mental health issues would create what we call somatic symptoms. Somatic symptoms are physical bodily issues, and one is migraine. Sometimes it could be ulcer. Sometimes it could be tummy aches. So the point is this: there are several factors here now. So I can't just conclude. Because do you have eye problems? If you don't have eye problems, what type of stress are you exposed to? At what incidents? Please just reach out to me so that I don't just give a wrong prescription. Okay? Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Permit me to leave now. May Allah be with us all. Sister Zainab, are you allowing
Yes.
me to leave?
Yes. You can just
Thank you so much.
he has once he leave out, he puts his handle, like number, email, and Instagram handle in the chat. You can check it. I will also put it on the group chat on WhatsApp in case you need to get to him. So you can ask him any questions that you want to. Jazakallah khairan again. Thank you very much. Brother Aminu, is there something you have to say?
Yes,
Raise your hand.
Jazakallahu khair. Thank you so much, Sister Zainab.
Yes.
Sister Zainab, you want a question and I answered
Oh
at the
yes.
beginning.
Oh, earlier at the beginning of this chat, sorry, I replied again
Yes.
and I forgot. I was asking about which surah, like, are we sometimes encouraged to read when we are feeling down? because this surah was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a time where he had not received revelations for a few days and he was mocked and he felt very sad about it.
Yes.
Surah, yes, and Brother Aminu answered Surah Ad-Duha, Surah Ad-Duha. So I've heard that when you are feeling sad and you don't know what to do, not you don't know what to do, but you know when you feel down, because apart from depression there are moments when we also feel down. You should read this surah. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. I said Dr. Brother Aminu. Thank you
I
very much.
mean, yeah.
Yes. I think that's all for today. As everyone like is gotten the handle and information of Mentor Mo. If not, we'll put
I,
it on the WhatsApp group chat.
mashallah, that is what I want to suggest, sister.
Okay. I've written it down. I will convey it on the group. Jazakallah khairan. Is there anyone that has anything else to say before we do the closing dua? Oh yes, Sister Azizat. Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. First of all, I'll say a big jazakumullah khairan to Brother Mo for this beautiful lecture. And I know, I'm not just trying to say it, that anybody that didn't log in certainly must have missed a lot. You understand, issues happen, people have the intention to log in, but one way or the other, something do really come up. But this is a very wonderful topic. And what we want to use this opportunity to say is, Brother Mo, please, be easy night, Allah, we're still going to invite you because we are among the coordinator. We're still going to invite you to this program again. It might not be Ramadan in me, because Ramadan in me is actually for us to actually prepare our mind for Ramadan, but for issues that has to do with the mental health, because most times the Muslims don't understand that this is a critical problem that is actually affecting us. And that's the only thing, one of the main things that can make us worship. Hey, someone's mic is on, please. So could you off your mic, please? This is an issue that that can actually help us as Muslim understand even why we're worshiping Allah in the first place. Most of us worship Allah without not even understanding who Allah is. So, Brother Mo, this is why I'm actually throwing this public to you. We know the attendance was actually poor, not what we expected, but this is where Allah has decreed. Bismillah ta'ala, we'll be bringing you back on board. And I hope, Bismillah, you'll be willing to accept our invitation. Jazakumullah khairan once again. May Allah reward you abundantly. Fi dunya wal akhirah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, alaikum salam. He isn't at the meeting, but I'm sure we'll be able to talk to him and bring him back for a longer time, for a longer lecture. So now that we are done for today, is there anyone that would like to do the closing dua?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Umar Abdullah Meriga. I'm very sorry I joined very, very late because, to be candid, I was very busy today. I saw the program very late. But the little I watched, I think it was quite instructive, very, very informative. And may I use the opportunity to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the presenter and then the organizers as well. Looking forward to the full presentation like you promised, inshallah, on YouTube or other social media handles. On this note, may we pray salat to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا ذو الجلال والإكرام. فسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خير يا أختي.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Umar. So yes, for the people that turned out today, thank you very much. There's a replay available on YouTube channel. The link will also be sent to the group.
Inshallah.
What?
Inshallah, we wait for it, inshallah.
All right. The replay is available as of now because it was also being screened there. So yes, thank you very much. Jazakallah khairan. Tomorrow we'll also be here tomorrow for another topic, and for the next 2 weeks, Saturday and Sunday, same time. Please show up, and you can also send it to your friends and family to also come and listen to the different topics we have each week. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khairan.